Assalamu alaikum, peace be with you. Thanks for joining me for this continuing chat on the Quran in dialogue with other faiths and scriptures. You will recall that yesterday we talked about the cataclysmic end of the world, but what does that mean for us? What about our own resurrection from the dead and final judgment? What do the world's religions say about this? Okay, so let's look at that. I'm going to start with the Quran as usual. So in the Quran, we have in Surah 36, verses number 53 and 54, this. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون. It will only take one blast. Then at once they will all be brought before us. On that day no soul will be wronged in the least, nor will you be rewarded except for what you used to do. So there we have a depiction in the Quran of people coming out of their graves, being judged. There will be a kind of a trumpet call, and then everyone is summoned to that call, and they arrive in the judgment court of God, and everybody is judged for what they used to do. So there is a resurrection from the dead, and there is a judgment according to our deeds. That's in a nutshell the Quranic perspective. Now let's turn to the Bible. And in the Bible, we have, of course, the Old Testament and New Testament. First, from the Old Testament, we have in the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verses number 2 to 3, this, as we read, many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. Those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky, and those who lead many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. Now, the concept of the afterlife and resurrection from the dead and being judged like this in the Old Testament is a little bit vague. Starting with the Torah, the core of the Old Testament, we find very little that could really connect us to what later became the Christian belief in heaven and hell. The rewards and punishments, you might say, or the good and bad effects of one's deeds in that book are more so central to this world. Later on, we see in the later prophets, as we find in Daniel here, one of the later prophets, that there is some idea of the resurrection from the dead, but still the full expression of a heavenly realm where people are expected to go in the end. This is a little bit vague. And then as for being judged by one's deeds in the way that we find later on in Christianity and then eventually in Islam, this too is a little bit fuzzy in the whole of the Old Testament. Now, when we come to the New Testament, with the teachings of Jesus, on whom be peace, and his followers after him, here we are more in that realm of heaven, hell, the judgment for one's deeds, and so on. So now in Revelation, the last book of the New Testament, we read in chapter 20, verses number 11 to 15 as follows. Then I saw a great white throne, and the one who sat on it. The earth and the heaven fled from his presence, and no place was found for them. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were opened. See, here we have the concept of books being opened. So what are in these books? Also, another book was opened, the book of life, and the dead were judged according to their works as recorded in the books. And the sea gave up the dead that were in it. Death and Hades gave up the dead that were in them, and all were judged according to what they had done. So you might ask, well, what is Hades? So Hades is a Greek word referring to something like the underworld. Verse number 14 now. Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. This is the second death, the lake of fire. And anyone whose name was not found in the book of life was thrown into the lake of fire. So we have the sense here in the book of Revelation, the last book of the New Testament, the last book of the entire Bible, a depiction of people being judged according to their deeds. How does that play out in other religions? Well, in the Eastern religions, now I should back up a little bit and say that there is a division in academic thought about between Eastern religions on the one hand, Western religions on the other hand. So Western religions comprise the more familiar ones like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Eastern religions comprise the religions of Japan, religions of China, and religions of India. Basically, we can say it like that. So, what do we find in the Eastern religions? In Hinduism, there's the idea of karma. You reap good or bad effects of your deeds, and then this lives on with you in another life with the transmigration of souls from one body to another in one life after another. And of course, the goal is moksha, which is the liberation from this samsara, this continual transmigration. In Buddhism, similar concept, though it is called nirvana, which is a kind of enlightenment to be achieved. Different word than moksha, fairly similar concept. Something like this seems to be in Sikhism as well, and in some of the other religions that originated out of India. Now, we have in the Chinese religions, especially Taoism, the idea of the Tao, which is a kind of natural way, and you do well by aligning yourself with that natural way. But there is hardly this idea of the accumulation of good or bad deeds and this affecting your future. This is not so much spelled out. So we find in the Western religions this clear emphasis on your deeds, and you're being judged according to your deeds in that final life, and your resurrection from the dead in order to face that judgment. The Quran brings this into stark reality. The Quran emphasizes this a lot, and I've cited one verse from the Quran, but one can easily see in section after section, page after page of the Quran, there is this clear focus on the life hereafter. So if in the Torah the focus was here on this earth, in the Quran the focus is largely in the life hereafter, without neglecting the life of this world. So now, what does this all mean for us today? What it means for us today is that since we are expecting a resurrection from the dead and a judgment according to the deeds that we have done in this life, well, what are we going to do about it now? Let us look forward to the life hereafter and stop thinking that we have to amass our fortunes here in this world. Let us amass our fortunes for the life hereafter. The Quran says, وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ. Let every soul look forward to what it sends ahead for itself, for the life hereafter. Let us capitalize on Ramadan, as Ramadan is now nearing its end, and Muslims are looking forward to special worship services on the 27th night of Ramadan. No specific prescribed worship for this night, similar to other nights, but given the historic date when Muslims expect that the night of Qadr, the night of determination, will fall, it is appropriate that we prepare ourselves to worship intensely in this night, if not on any other night. And let us look forward to spending the remaining days of Ramadan in good spirits, and let us share this message with our friends, with our co-workers, and our classmates. It is a message that eventually we will be resurrected from our dead state, and we will be answerable for our deeds. And so we have to capitalize on the little life we have left to perform as many good deeds as we can and avoid as many evils as we can. Now, we talk about the night of decree or the night of determination, and that brings into question, like when we talk about our deeds, are our deeds foreordained? Are they predetermined? Are we predestined, or are we free? Well, let's deal with that as a topic tomorrow. Let's discuss that and let's have a chat. So, thank you for joining me for today, and I look forward to speaking with you again tomorrow. In the meantime, peace be with you and the mercy and blessings of God. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Muslim Media Hub. There's so much that happens in this building.
This is where we produce the television show called Let the Quran Speak.
And there are podcasts, shows, and documentaries in progress.
As you can see, this building is very essential for the good work that we're doing. This is why we purchased it for $2 million.
We've already paid off about a third of this building.
And we have another $84,000 to pay this year.
We're looking for 84 kind souls to give $1,000 each. Can you be one of those people?
I hope you will, or give whatever you can. Every dollar counts.
Thank you, and may Allah bless you and your loved ones this Ramadan and always.
Peace be with you. Assalamu alaikum and Ramadan Mubarak.
Assalamu alaikum.